Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for a new Film Fanatic show. Hope everyone's doing good. It is Saturday morning at 9:42, February 7th. So hope everyone's doing good. Got some things coming up. I mentioned it before. I'm kind of in the midst of doing this new recording project that is kind of exciting, and so I've been working on that stuff. We have another rehearsal. For what it is, haven't like formally announced the project, like by name, but that will probably happen probably really really soon. It's really fun. It's been kind of a long term project. We started rehearse these rehearsals in like early November, and we've been doing. I've had probably about 4 or 5 rehearsals now. We have another rehearsal tomorrow, and then we're scheduled to go to record a few weeks after that. So it's a lot of new material, really cool stuff. It has a real cinematic kind of quality. The woman who is spearheading the project is a filmmaker as well as her husband. So it's really interesting stuff. So I'm kind of excited to talk more about it. She hasn't like said anything online or announced anything about it. So I'm just kind of waiting for the right time to do it. I really love recording. I finished up another recording project last year now in November with Osmia, and right now the album is just kind of getting mixed, and those guys are taking their time with doing some overdubs, and then this next recording project will start in a few more weeks. An entirely different kind of music, so very very cool. And then we're going to be doing. There's also going to be a concert coming up. I guess shortly after that, of where we're going to do like a basically perform the whole record or all of the new material. So pretty exciting. It's kind of a new project. It's very different from anything I've done before, and it's challenging. And it's like country inspired music, folk inspired music, but it all has which is for me was the main thing to attach myself to this. It all has a real kind of movie quality to it, very much influenced by David Lynch. So the music is kind of odd, really dark, very dreamlike, but it's cool. It's cool stuff. So I'm kind of excited about that. And then coming up soon, we have a show coming up at Hey Sailor with myself, and my great friend Halsey, or Eric Halsey, killer bass player, my favorite bass player to play gigs with. Super creative, and then he's got his electronic group Halsey, which is like real, just killer stuff, like hip hop inspired electro stuff, real groove based, very funky. And we're gonna be doing a show at Hey Sailor pretty soon, which started actually this week doing the promotion for it. And then a week after that, we're going to be doing a show at Opera's Video, which I will be going to today to surprise, surprise, get some movies. And so, very excited about that. We're going to do another show. I think that's going to be on the 28th, a daytime show. And we're going to do a show at Opera's Video with my friend Ronnie, doing this kind of improv set. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then shortly after that, we'll be going on tour with Osmia, which I'm really excited about. We played a really fun show last week. It was our first show back in about at least a month and a half or so. We took some time off. We had a real busy year. Last 2025 was definitely a highlight. Playing with Osmia was definitely a highlight of the year. We played a lot of gigs, and we did a big tour that last year. So this next tour is a little bit shorter, I guess. It's going to be a lot of traveling, a lot of driving, but I'm really excited. And so And then I'm going to be playing a show in Portland, also coming up for a benefit show with the Midnight Riders. So yeah, there's some things happening. Otherwise, today's show is a specialty show. I like to do kind of one-off shows or you know talk about a movie. In this case, this is a movie I have talked a lot about, and I have given it enough coverage. And I feel like it's one of those movies that I love it so much that you just can't give it enough praise. Um, and I know I have at least there's definitely one video of this movie on the channel, and then I think there might be a second one or a one that I even did before. But I want to do another video on the same movie, but I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive because I watched all of the special features last night for this movie, and it just like inspired this idea of like, okay, now since this movie is fresh on my mind, uh, I've been thinking about it for a while, and then I've seen this movie so many times, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and that is 1981's Joe Dante's The Howling. I absolutely love this movie, and I watched this again. I did a show again, like again what I said before. When I first bought this movie on Blu-ray, which was I bought this at least a couple of years ago, maybe at least 2 years ago, maybe even three, but at least 2 years ago. I was so freaking excited to buy this on Blu-ray. This is hands down my favorite werewolf movie of all time. And so I watched it the other night, and then I always talk about one of the reasons I buy Blu-rays, why I love Blu-rays so much, and I try to, I still overall, since I started buying movies, which was many many years ago, I still have more DVDs than I do Blu-rays. I don't really watch DVDs at home. I mean, I do here and there, but primarily I usually watch Blu-rays all the time. That's kind of my thing. And again, the thing that's so awesome about these editions, this was put out by Shout Factory, I believe. It's a collector's edition. I mean, it's just so cool, the artwork. There are a ton of special features on here, and that's one of the reasons why I buy these movies on Blu-ray. You take for instance this movie, which for me is my favorite all time werewolf movie, 1981 prime time. I can find out due to the special features on here. I can find out like, geez, how did they make this movie work? What inspired the film, and you know, and all of the interesting creative people and forces behind this movie, because it's so good. It's so damn good. So last night, there's a lot of special features on here. It's probably at least an hour and a half of special features. A lot of cool interviews. The only thing I wish that there were interviews with, which I was really surprised, I think there is a commentary track. There might be a commentary. I don't see. The thing is, I don't usually listen to commentary tracks. Um, Actually, there is a good commentary track on here. I don't know what it is. Commentary tracks, I have obviously listened to them, and they are a great component and a great part of special features. And those commentary tracks are very, very common. I've seen commentary tracks on, even like kind of lower grade DVDs where it might not have any in regards to special features, but they usually always have commentary tracks. Commentary tracks are on everything. And I don't know what it is. I don't usually, I have listened to them, and sometimes they're really cool. But they're kind of long, and it's essentially like watching the movie, but with the commentary track. So I think it's because of the maybe the long, tedious nature of sitting through it again. But I probably should check out commentary tracks more often. I'm all about when it comes to special features. I'm really about the. I really love when there are really cool like documentaries that come along with the Blu-ray or Blu-rays and with that particular movie. I really love kind of uncut, off the cuff interviews and long form interviews with the filmmakers, director, the actors. There is a commentary track with Joe Dante, which I should really listen to, and then also Dee Wallace, who is the star of this movie. I was starting to say, special feature wise, there's a lot of great interviews on here, but it would have been cool if there was an actual Joe Dante interview or Dee Wallace interview. Um, but there isn't, and I should check out the commentary track. But love this movie, and I watched the special features the other night, and it's pretty lengthy, and then I was wow, I should do another show on this movie. It's funny because a while back, I think it was last year, I was kind of doing videos of where there's a bunch of movies on this channel. People might be aware of it or not, but I'm sure they are. There's certain movies that I have done multiple shows on because I just love them so much. But I try to like, if I do more than one video on a particular movie, I try to do it, maybe do it in a different angle or, do you know, try to do a show from a different perspective or what have you, or maybe something about the film that is really interesting. And I have done that. And I remember when I told my ex girlfriend now about that, she was like, "Oh, why are you doing that? You should not do. Why would you do two videos of the same movie or three movies of the same thing?" And she was like, "That's kind of, you're kind of a loser." And I had this like kind of funny reaction. But I am mindful of that because I don't want to be redundant, But I do repeat myself sometimes. But what I have done in the past, because uh, I do, I'm a big rewatcher of films. If I love a film, I will, rewatch it until, you know, the cows come home. I don't usually buy a movie, like, say, for instance, this is a perfect example. The Howling was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I used to watch The Howling all the time. It used to be on cable. Pretty much, it might have been like the first werewolf movie I had ever seen as a kid. I think I actually had even seen it before the Universal Monster Lon Chaney Jr. film. And I remember, like it was yesterday, The Howling used to always be on cable. There used to be all kinds of great late night horror movie marathons when I was a kid. And I remember The Howling used to be on cable all the time. And it always scared me. And there was always something about it that really resonated with me. And it's really the main movie that, I love vampire films. I love zombie films. Dracula films, I'm a huge fan of. But there's something about the werewolf genre that just for me cuts a little deeper, and I just love that whole aesthetic. I'm more, when it comes down to it at the end of the day, when it comes to kind of like monster films or creature feature movies or even Universal monster kind of like movies, the werewolf genre is my favorite, without a doubt. And The Howling was that movie that got me into the genre by far. I mean, it really was. Just yesterday, um, last night actually, a girl that I sort of know on Facebook who's into horror films had posted this big thing about the Hammer horror films with Christopher Lee, and just really saying how wonderful these movies are, and I made a comment saying yeah, they're, I mean, again, the Hammer horror films with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, that was an integral part of my youth as a kid. And those were the first Dracula films and vampire movies I was exposed to as a kid. And those films were so integral for me as a kid, and I still love them to death. And they were one of those, those films, the Hammer films, were uh, a big part of getting me into horror, to where I am today. I mean, that was like an integral part. Like, that was a regular, steady diet for me as a kid. And The Howling was the same thing. I remember seeing this all the time on television, on cable, and then also renting it on VHS when it came out on VHS, seeing it multiple times that way, and then I think, yeah, about 10 years ago, I bought a DVD copy of The Howling, and that was the first time I had ever seen it on DVD, and I watched the shit out of that, and I still own that. And then just 2 or 3 years ago, finally got an upgrade of it on Blu-ray. This was a movie I'd always wanted, and I was just like, holy shit! And man, next level, next level. So watching the special features and all, I wanted to do a show by taking a deeper dive on The Howling. So yeah, that's what today's show will be about. So after watching The Howling special features, especially last night, I was really uh, driven to want to do a deeper dive video. So this is what we're doing. So I'm kind of excited to kind of take a little bit of a deeper dive into this incredible movie, and just how important it really is too, I feel, and why it's the greatest, for me, the greatest werewolf movie that there is. And there are a ton of movies that are related to the werewolf genre, of course, but in comparison to vampire movies, even well, almost to a degree, especially zombie movies, there are really the numbers are just not there. Like, I'm really craving for. There's been a shit ton of werewolf of Dracula and vampire movies that have come out as of late, and I would say out of those genres, I mean, the zombie genre is massive, um, and they're still cranking those out. But I think, and then recently with vampire and Dracula films, of course, there's been a lot. But with werewolf movies, it's pretty slim pickings as far as new films that deal with great stories in the genre. The one movie I'm really, really excited to see that's coming out, I think, Christmas of this year, is the new Robert Eggers movie called Werewolf, which I'm really stoked about. He's one of my favorite directors of all time. But when you think The Howling came out in '81, so I wanted to take some time, and it really was the case after I watched the special features last night, and I have seen all of the special features before. I've had this Blu-ray for about probably 2 or 3 years, and I of course watched the special features and all those things. But I um, watched them again last night in its entirety, and it really inspired. Like, oh, okay, maybe I'll do a video on this amazing film, but just take a little bit of a deeper dive. Talk about the kind of the inner workings, behind the scenes of the amazing cast and the creators, Joe Dante. So, so here you go. So, I want to first talk about Joe Dante. Joe Dante is an iconic director. He's made so many just incredible movies. I mean, just an endless list of movies. It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild and crazy. Super prolific. He's still around. He's still around. Still active, as far as I know. Um, he is very, very well known for the Gremlins films that he directed. The first Gremlins movie in '84, classic, iconic movie, kind of a great Christmas movie. That was another movie that came out in '84. That was another movie that I watched and saw all the time as a kid. I have, I believe I have it on DVD. Um, and Gremlins 2, which was the sequel. Gremlins was another movie that I absolutely adored as a kid. I used to see it all the time. That was a part of my youth too. Um, the other thing with Joe Dante's films, and especially with The Howling, is his use of practical effects. I talk about practical effects all the time on this channel and throughout all of these videos. And I do think the new technology, blue screen, CGI, some of those things. As a filmmaker, you need to kind of adapt to the technology that's coming out and realize, wow, I can use these as a tool. But sometimes people get too hung up on new technology, to the point of where suddenly, I don't know, it's a fine balance of where something was really hard to do, and then suddenly you're given keys to the kingdom, and suddenly you can do anything. So it's a balance, and I think there are examples of where CGI and practical effects can be blended perfectly. I think Robert Eggers does a really great job. Nosferatu is, I think, a perfect example of that. But I often think a lot of the newer technology that's used, there's too much, and I'm not, too often it takes me out of the movie. But Joe Dante, especially obviously in the '80s when these things were not available at all, was totally reliable on and relied on practical effects and just sheer imagination. And Gremlins is just another example of that. Gremlins came out in '84. Gremlins 2 is another awesome sequel that came out in '86. Of course, The Howling came out in '81. Just such a classic movie. Another movie he did, which I really, really want to revisit, is Small Soldiers. I haven't seen that movie in years, but I remember that movie being really awesome. That came out in '98. The Burbs with Tom Hanks, 1989. And he also, Joe Dante, like so many other directors, came out of the Roger Corman school. He Joe Dante came out of the exploitation world. And just amazing. Just amazing. And Roger Corman, being one of the most important and iconic figures for directors. He took so many directors came out of his camp. I mean, and you know, he produced so many incredible exploitation movies as well. Roger Corman's an incredible director. So many great exploitation movies he's directed. He's one of my all-time favorites. He's such a an important figure, and started the careers of so many directors: James Cameron, John Carpenter, Joe Dante. Um, and had a lot to do with Martin Scorsese's career. Coppola. I mean, it's insane. So many people worked through his world or and became directors. It's kind of staggering. I almost feel he's like the most important figure, in film, especially in exploitation. I mean, the amount of films that he produced, the amount of directors that he got their career started, it's staggering, and it's helped shape the world today. Where cinema is. Obviously within the world of exploitation, but then you have directors like Scorsese and Coppola and James Cameron, that are contemporary Hollywood filmmakers. So it's really interesting. Joe Dante also directed Piranha in '78, amazing movie, um, classic Roger Corman exploitation. Um, Inner Space in '87, which is another movie I haven't seen forever. Explorers in 85. He also directed The Twilight Zone, the movie, which is crazy because that movie is amazing. I love The Twilight Zone, the original series, and how can you not? But I think that the movie is absolutely spectacular, and I always forget that he directed that. I mean, just an incredible director. Um, Maltney in '83, The Hole in 2009. He also directed a Looney Tunes live action movie, which is hilarious. Burning the X in 2014. Amazon Women on the Moon, which is a crazy, wild exploitation movie. I have that on VHS. Nightmare Cinema in 2018. The movie Orgy in '68. I mean, his career spent decades. Hollywood Boulevard in '76. The Second Civil War in '87. Rock and Roll High School, which is iconic. I mean, that's such an iconic movie. Sleepwalkers in '92. Um, the Creeps 2025, which is wow. Okay, that just came out. That's crazy. Homecoming in 2005. Trapped in Ashes 2006. A Frankenstein Complex. Um, Jesus, so many freaking movies. Governor's World 2011. Beverly Hills Cop 3 he directed. Eddie Murphy. Just wild. Um, the Silence of the Hams with Dom DeLuise in '94. Um, just crazy. Crazy. The list of movies. The Search of Tomorrow in 2022. Just wild. Um, there's a really cool interview, and part of the special features on The Howling, where there's an interview with Stephen A. Lane, who um, basically created the whole kind of franchise, and he talks about all of the movies, and there's like 8 movies in the franchise of The Howling, which is insane. I have only seen a few of them. I really, really want to revisit all of the movies. They get, I know they obviously probably get increasingly worse and cheesier, and their budgets get even, I think, smaller. Even though the original movie, the Howling from '81, was incredibly low budget, and but it's absolutely astounding what they do. But Stephen Lane talks about how he produced this The Howling and became kind of the grandfather of this whole franchise. I mean, The Howling became a massive franchise, and there's a really great interview with him on this DVD Blu-ray where he talks about how he started out his career, and he essentially was he owned a few movie theaters, and that was like he was a businessman, owned a few movie theaters. And one day he said he was walking through the mall and through a bookstore, and he came across this book called The Howling, and he read it and he fell in love with it, and he right away was like, okay, I want to. This would be a great movie. So that's what started the seed, and then that led to the movie eventually getting made. And he talks about, and it's a really cool and interesting interview because he talks about how, as far as what it entailed to make a movie, or how to make a movie, he had no idea. He was completely clueless, but he was like, oh, maybe this could work. This is a fantastic story, and he just made it. He made it happen. He ended up getting acquiring the rights for the movie. Had some connections in the industry, and the rest is history. But it's really interesting. And then he talks a lot about how he became a really hands-on person. He was on set. He was a big part of the development of the movie, the story, everything. Really, really involved. And then that led to the success of The Howling, which from '81, and that led to 7 other movies, which is crazy. And he was really a hands-on guy, and talked about in this interview about how he was in on set, in connection with everyone involved, overseed everything. Really interesting interview. And he had no. It's interesting to see how he had no idea how to pull any of this off. It just happened on a whim. He came across this idea that he thought would be amazing, and it planted the seed, and then it became this really big horror franchise. Really, really interesting story. Again, I did not know that. Did not know any of that information in regards to The Howling. And the first director attached to the project, to The Howling, was Jack Conrad. And it was the production team of Avco Embassy Pictures was also attached. And there was a kind of a conflict as to what Jack Conrad wanted to do and what Avco Embassy Pictures wanted to do. And at first, Stephen Lane was talking about how they were going to try to stay pretty close to the story, and the story that of the original novel, the book, which I haven't read, which is something I really want to read now. And he said the original concept of the film was going to be pretty close to the book, but there was like a conflict between Conrad and the company, as far as like the vision, So there was this conflict between Avco and Jack Conrad. So he eventually was kind of more or less removed as a director, and then they brought in Joe Dante, and so Conrad went to he was still involved with the film, but he became a co-producer. Really interesting. And Stephen Lane was talking about in this interview, when Joe Dante was brought in, suddenly the whole concept was going to be different, and it wasn't going to really have anything to do with the book. It moved into a much different territory. But everybody was everybody involved with the project, The Howling, was really enthusiastic and really excited, and then it moved on from there. John Sayles and Terrence Winkless were the writers. They were brought in as the writers for The Howling. And I always get blown away when I think, wow, John Sayles, this was one of his first movies. John Sayles, folks who don't know who he is, or maybe folks do know, just an incredible director. So many great films to his credit, and also he's been in a lot of great films as an actor. Really great director. Definitely check out John Sayles films. Real great independent filmmaker. He's been around for years, but this was one of his first starts, and he was the writer. And he's not known for, I guess, necessarily making horror films, but this was a fantastic script. So really interesting, and there's a really cool interview with Terrence uh, Winkless on the special features, and he was talking about that this was his first, official movie that he was going to be involved in. He had worked in the Hollywood system for a while in LA and worked on a lot of different projects, smaller projects, but this was going to be his first like official thing. It's the first official movie, and how um, this was going to be like his ultimate kind of calling card, and just through his connections, people he had written. He was talking about how he had a lot of experience writing scripts, but nothing got really, nothing got picked up. And then he wrote, and then he was recommended through a few different people in the industry that he has some really good skills as a writer, and that led to his partnership to be part of this film, working with John Sayles. And very interesting, really, really interesting. And this was his first kind of big break as a writer. Very, very cool. I did, and he, really said that he talked a lot about working with Joe Dante, just being a really creative force and really enthusiastic, and they just had a lot of fun. And the script was not really changed all that much. It kind of stuck to true to its original form for the actual film shoot. Really interesting. One of the coolest and one of the most important things around The Howling, which again, watching it again, just again the other night, and I've seen this movie a bazillion times, and I never get sick of it because it's one of my all-time favorite movies. Is the effects, the creature effects, the practical effects, and of course this was all created by the one of the best effects guys in the world, Rob Bottin, who was a big, massive part of the magic of John Carpenter's The Thing. He was only 21 years old when he did The Howling, which is insane because it's everything is so in camera. It's so watching it now in 2026, like it's astounding how great the special effects are. It's got one of the most incredible transformation scenes. This film also came out really close time wise to American Werewolf in London. Of course, another amazing werewolf film, one of the greatest films ever. For a long time, my two favorite werewolf movies were, it still are, but like I had, for, I don't know, for a while I think I had American Werewolf in London first, and then The Howling as a close second. But over time, I've just really fallen in love with more and more with The Howling. And but again, iconic film, amazing film. I also really, really love the original Lon Chaney Jr. film. I am a big, massive fan of Paul Naschy in the expectation world, who has made so many great werewolf films into itself. Highly recommend any. The Beast and the Magic Sword, amazing. So many. There are so many, even though in comparison to the vampire genre or the zombie genre or the Dracula genre, there's a lot less, and I wish we get more good quality werewolf films. Um, but The Howling, the special effects created by the then 21-year-old Rabutin is astounding, and it's unbelievable how well this movie ages. Like, it's incredible. And there's something about it. It makes the film more frightening. It just has a more organic kind of thing to it. You can't, it's right up there. Rabutin's work. I mean, his career, unbelievable. I mean, The Thing, probably the greatest thing John Carpenter's ever directed, and then and then The Howling, the greatest werewolf movie ever directed, just iconic, and just one of my all-time favorite um, effects guys. Responsible for so many fantastic movies. Just such a whiz, just unbelievable. And looking at the list of some of the films that Robertine was involved in, is just unbelievable. I mean, of course, The Thing in '82, which came out a year after The Howling, which is insane. Um, he also worked on The Fog, also by John Carpenter. Amazing, amazing masterpiece of a film. Legend. He worked on Legend, Ridley Scott's Legend, which I did not realize. Um, RoboCop. He also did some of the effects in RoboCop. Again, incredible. Total Recall, which is such an amazing film with Schwarzenegger. He also worked on Seven and also Fight Club. It's crazy. Crazy. Unbelievable. Now, talking about the cast, taking a little bit of a deeper dive again into the cast of The Howling. Just an awesome, amazing cast. And probably the most important part of the cast, great ensemble cast, but Dee Wallace. Such an icon in horror. So many great films. She's such a great character in this movie. And when you look at her career, it's pretty astounding. Like the amount of films that she's been in, mostly horror films, obviously, but all kinds of movies. Cujo, amazing film from '83, just an awesome film. Stephen King. Of course, The Howling '81. She was also in E.T., Steven Spielberg, iconic movie. The Frighteners in '96, which is actually a very cool movie from with Michael J. Fox. I haven't seen that in years. Critters, awesome movie. Love to revisit that from '86. She was also in The Hills Have Eyes. Wes Craven, I love that movie to death. Fucking awesome movie. '77. I haven't seen that movie in years. But such a badass movie. There's something about the early old school Wes Craven films. I mean, The Last House on the Left, and some of the shit. I mean, that movie is just so nasty. Yeah, and Hills Have Eyes, so great, so fucking awesome. Hills Have Eyes is definitely a movie I need to get on Blu-ray. I haven't seen that in years, but I love that movie to death. It's such a raw, nasty movie. Critters Attack in 2019. She was also in Jeepers Creepers, one of the best horror films. Actually, no, she was in the. There was a more recent remake, which is not very good. Scratch that from 2022. Not a very good movie. Red Christmas 2016, which I don't think I've seen that. She was in The Lords of Salem, which I watched last year, Halloween, which is a really awesome movie. Rob Zombie. I forgot she was in that. That came out in 2012. Really cool movie. Another exploitation movie, Popcorn, in '91. She was also in Three from Hell, another Rob Zombie, which was the sequel to the third in the trilogy of the um, House of a Thousand Corpses. She was in 10, which is wild, in '79. She was in the first, or the remake of Halloween with Rob Zombie, 2007. Every Time a Bell Rings, she was in that. Critters 3, she was also in, another big franchise, '91. A Secret Admirer in '85. Hansel and Gretel, which came out in 2013. Alligator 2, The Mutation, '91. Last Night on Earth, Invisible Man in '80 or '96. Um, and she was also in House of the Devil, which is a great movie. That was the first movie by the great Ty West. I love his stuff, and that's a really great movie. It's a movie I really want to watch again, but I forgot she's in that. So you can see that Dee Wallace was in so many great horror films. Such an iconic career that just continues, and it has spanned decades. She's No Angel in 2001, the Forest Hill Festival. Um, Sunrise in Heaven 2019, Fanboy 2021, The Nest in 21. Yeah, just a fantastic career she's had. I love me some Dee Wallace. You can't get any better than that. So awesome. Then the great Christopher Stone, another great actor, been in so many movies. He was also in Cujo, The New Lassie in '92, which was the television show from '89 to '92. The Interns, he did a lot of television. 1970 to '71, Love Me Deadly. '73, Spencer's Pilots. '76, a lot of '70s movies, exploitation movies. The Grasshopper 1970, The Junkman 1982, The Annihilators in '83. A lot of these movies I haven't seen. I've seen definitely a good majority of the Dee Wallace films, but there's a lot of his films I have not seen. Warhead at '77, they all look really awesome though. Dying to Remember, yeah, really really cool. Um, Christopher Stone, killer stuff. And then there's two more actors I really want to talk about, and of course John Carradine is in this film. The iconic or a few more actors I want to talk about. John Carradine, such an icon in the world of horror. The House of Dracula, 1945. House of Frankenstein, 44. Stagecoach, 39. The Grapes of Wrath, and 40. That he's done, I mean, throughout his amazing fucking career, so many great iconic horror films, but also outside of the genre of horror. House of the Long, 83. Billy Kid versus Dracula, which is an awesome movie. I love that movie to death. I have that on DVD. The Monster Club in '81. The Man Who Shot Liberty in '62. Shockwaves '77. Bluebeard 44. Vampire Hookers, which is such a fucking crazy movie. I just did a show on that. I discovered that movie for the first time through the Film Crypt. Awesome movie. I'd love to get that on Blu-ray. So many great movies. Bluebeard 44. I mean, just an icon. Such an icon. Such an icon in Hollywood. And now brings me to probably my favorite actress, even though I'm all about Dee Wallace. Probably my favorite actress in the movie is Elizabeth Brooks. Wow. She was probably, again, when I first saw The Howling, I was a little kid. It came out in '81. I was a real little kid, a little young, a little impressionable kid. And Elizabeth Brooks was like the hottest thing I had ever seen in my life. Wearing her tight leather dress that she had, the whole thing. Um, Unbelievable. She died in '97, at only 46 years old. She had cancer. Wow, I didn't know that. Amazing actress. So sexual and just so gorgeous. A really great actress. And she is one of the main characters in The Howling. But she made some pretty killer movies. The Forgotten One in '89. Deep Space in '88. The Solitary Man, '79. Jaded. Yep. Such an amazing actress. Elizabeth Brooks. Amazing. And then another great actor, Kevin McCarthy. Another icon in the world of horror and science fiction. Piranha. He also came out of the Roger Corman school. Piranha in '78. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the original. Amazing film. One of the most important films and one of the most influential. 56. Mr. Tudor in '83. Nightmare in '56. Inner Space '87. Death of a Salesman. Ghoulies 3 '91. Aces High '68. Stranger on Horseback in '55. UHF '89. Drive Drive a Crooked Road in 54. Just such an icon. He's one of those actors, as soon as you see him, you're like, I've seen him in something, because he was in so many fucking movies. But I know him especially from the original Twilight Zone movie. Robert Picard, amazing, plays one of the greatest werewolf roles of all time. Such an iconic actor as well. I mean, Star Trek Voyager. He was on that series for a really long time, from 2001 to 2005. Inner Space as well, 87. Star Trek, Starfleet, 2000. He's still on that show too. It's wild. Gremlins 2, 1990. China Beach, which was a series, 88 to 91. Star Trek Prodigy, 2021 to 2022. He's really well known. Obviously, he's been in so many like more newer contemporary versions of Star Trek. Explorers in '85, Legend in '85, Ridley Scott, great film. Baltimore Christmas or Biltmore Christmas 23, Mega Shark versus 2010, and Beethoven's Christmas in 2011. Just a wild. I mean, such a varied career. Yeah, just wild. Another wonderful actor in The Howling, Patrick Mini. Great, great actor, so iconic. He's been in so many movies. He was in the original, the British show, The Avengers. He's one of those actors too. If you see him, you automatically recognize him. Like, oh, I've seen him in this. I've seen him in that. I mean, just so many movies. Kind of a household name. Great British actor, and the original series, The Avengers, from 61 to 69, amazing. And then he went all the way. The new Avengers continued that series into 77. He was also in the James Bond film A View to Kill in 85. Sherlock Holmes in 91. Scrooge, 51, the original. Sherlock Holmes, 76. Incident at Victoria Falls, 92. Incense for the Damned in 71. He was in the original, or This Is Spinal Tap, 84. The Seawolves in 1980. Oh, just so good. So many great films. Sweet 16 in 83, Thunder in Paradise 94, Return of the Man from U.N.C.L.E., the original, so good. 83, Waxwork, 88, killer movie. The Creature Wasn't Nice in 83, Battlestar Galactica, the original series, awesome. 78 to 79, Waxwork 2, 92, Saga of a Star World 78, Club Med 86, Ghost Stories 97. Just so many great films. Dead of Night 77. Yeah, just so iconic, so iconic. And also Dick Miller, another just great character actor. One of those guys you've seen in so many movies. Bucket of Blood, really awesome movie directed by Roger Corman. Love that movie to death. From 59, Evil Tunes in 81, Gremlins. He went on to work more with in other Joe Dante films. Piranha, he was also in Piranha, 78. Little Shop of Horrors, the original, 60. Hollywood Boulevard, 76. Again, he's one of those actors, if you see him, you're like, I know him from something. The Guy Duck, that Guy Duck Miller, 2014. The Terror, 63. Gremlins 2, he was in that in 1990. The Explorers as well, 85. So good. So damn good. So yeah, I just wanted to do, we're at the 60-minute mark almost. So I wanted to do, again, this is a The Howling is a movie that I've done other shows on. I know there's definitely one that I did when I bought this Blu-ray for the first time, and there's a definite show about this version. And then I think there's another show on the channel about The Howling, where I talked about the DVD that I have and just the movie in general. But I want to do another show because, and that's why I did this show. I wanted to talk about it again, but I wanted to take a deeper dive, like go into more detailed things about, kind of the nuts and bolts on how the movie got made and who was in this film. Because I just love this movie to death. It's the shit. It's the bomb. Greatest werewolf movie ever made. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Peace.